What up, y'all? Get a Grip, episode 2. We're going to do placement and pressures. We're going to start off with placement. Once again, I think that placement and pressure are going to be the most important part of this grip. And at the end of this video, once we get in talking about the placements and pressures, I'm going to give you a cheat code to make sure you find it every single time. Alright, so we're going to start with firing hand placement, okay? This is called your master grip, some people call it. I just call it your firing hand placement because this is your firing hand. So what we want to try to do, if you see here, when I shoot my gun, I try to have my cuticles or my fingernails lined up directly below the magazine well. What that does is that gets the gun properly placed in the back of my hand, okay? A lot of times when people talk about grip, they think like we need to grab like a broom or a baseball bat and get like real deep on it, right? So if I get real deep on this thing, look at the back of my knuckle. That is shifted hard to the left. That means my muzzle is pointing in the opposite direction. I'm trying to get that thing to shoot, right? So placement is extremely important. So check this out as well. So when I have my hands wrapped around just like I did, like I got that real deep grip, here's my finger. Watch what happens when I squeeze my hand. I'm not tilting my wrist, I'm simply squeezing my hand, okay? You see how much dip there is? Now check this out. I'm gonna have the proper placement to where my fingers now align with the magazine well. I'm gonna squeeze, there's no dip. It doesn't leave my finger at all, no matter how hard I squeeze. So placement fixes that muzzle dip off the rip right away. So we finished with our firing hand, we're gonna talk about the support hand, okay? So the whole goal of my support hand is this is going to try to get as much of the gun as possible. I wanna try to take this whole drumstick area and I wanna get that on the gun. I wanna give a shout out to Scott Jedelinsky, the Modern Samurai Project, and their team. They've changed the way that I shoot my pistol exponentially, and so I'm using the way that they taught me how to use a grip, making it my own, and I'm giving it to you guys. So the support hand, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this support hand up here just like this. My whole goal, like I said, is to get this meaty portion of my hand on the actual pistol grip itself. I also want to finish with my thumb up. I don't want to finish with my thumb forward or my thumb going down. The reason why is because when we build a grip and we're squeezing the gun, if our thumb is forward or down, our hands will start to separate because they separate at our thumbs, especially if we don't have the proper pressure, okay? So I don't care how you guys get to that position. What I'm trying to do is get this hump of my support hand in this hole of the firing hand, like this. They lock in. You can see here it's just a little bit off, and you can see here it's over rotated. There's literally a spot that you will feel it lock in, okay? Everybody has different hand sizes and different shapes, but this is one thing that's accurate. Everybody has this hump in their hole that they can lock this gun into, and we're trying to make sure we have these thumbs up. The back side of the hand here, I see a lot of guys grabbing their trigger guard, wrapping their hands clear up here, and I mean, yeah, technically I'm still here where I need to be, but I don't have the full support hand actually engaged here. What I'm trying to do is, if you see my knuckles, I got these ridges, right? I call those mountains. Between these, I got valleys. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my fingers to interlock here and come in like this. I want to try to have all 4 of my fingers actually on my support hand itself. I don't want to be gripping for this. The reason why is because sometimes my hand could be here, 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 or here. That's never consistent. Remember, the key is consistent and repeatable. So coming to here and rotating up to where our hands are always interlocked with our fingers is going to be the most consistent and repeatable way that we can have the proper placement. We talked about placement, it's time to talk about pressures now. Placement is the #1 most important thing, and then right behind it's going to be pressures. If you don't have the proper pressures of these hands, you're A, going to have something that's inconsistent, and B, you're going to be working way too damn hard. At the end of this, I'm going to give you guys a drill that's going to be a little cheat code to make sure you find the perfect pressure and you're not overworking at all. All right, so for the firing hand pressure, okay, when I have the placement proper, what I want to do is I want to take these fingers and I want to be pulling them straight back into the palm of my hand. I don't want to be pulling them up. I don't want to be pulling them down. I just want to be pulling them straight back into my hand. What I'm doing is I'm acting like I have like a ping pong ball in my hand. I'm trying not to dent it and I'm trying not to drop it. So it's very minimal pressure. We're trying to get a knuckle to knuckle index. So I'm trying to get my knuckle on my firing hand to be covered with the index knuckle on my support hand. That's how we ensure we're on our hands and not the trigger guard, right? So once I get this pressure, I'm immediately driving my support hand up, like I'm trying to bust through the bottom of the trigger guard, okay? As I'm doing that, you see my hands are about right here. As I present the gun, I rotate my hand up and forward, trying to drive my thumb towards the top of the ejection port up here like this, okay? What I'm doing is I'm pulling back with these fingers, I'm up and into the gun, kind of like that, okay? And this is what we're going for at the end here. I want to be choking the absolute dog shit out of the gun with my support hand. But if I'm working too hard because I'm squeezing too hard, then I'm obviously overworking, and that's not a good thing. So once you get that really tight pressure, just remember what it feels like. This is our grip check drill. Okay, this is where we're gonna find out exactly how much pressure we need in order to make sure that we're not overworking and we're doing exactly what we need to get the results we want. So I'm gonna start out aiming right here at this 0, okay? I'm gonna have the proper placement for my grip, and I'm gonna have about 20 to 30% of my support hand. I'm gonna shoot around. I'm not gonna attempt to add more grip to it. I'm not gonna attempt to get it to return to 0. I'm gonna shoot around, and guess what? If my dot ends up here, that's where it ends up. It's okay, because that means I don't have enough grip pressure. So I'm gonna rebuild my grip. I'm gonna add a little bit more support hand pressure. I'm gonna shoot another round, the exact same thing. I'm not trying to make it to return to 0. I'm just adding a little bit of pressure to see where it ends up. So my second round, let's say it ends up right here. Cool, add some more support hand pressure. I aim here again, add support hand pressure. It ends up here. We rinse and repeat until we get up to where we add the exact amount we need, and it lands right here every single time, okay? Then once we do that, we're gonna shoot a couple successive rounds in a row at a quicker rate and see what happens if that starts to open up. If it starts to open up, we need to add a little bit more. If it doesn't open up, we're fucking good. If we're over gripping and overworking, we're gonna tire ourselves out. So let's test it and see what we need to do to be able to get the desired results. I want you to really focus on my muzzle and watch I don't do anything to make it return to 0. On my muzzle, 0. I'm back at the top of the head again, cool? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add a little bit more support hand pressure. I'm just gonna tell you where the dot ends up, and I'm gonna tell you I'm adding more, okay? I'm at the 0, add a little bit of pressure. Now I'm at the -1. At the 0, add a little bit more pressure. Top of the circle. At the 0, add a little bit more pressure. I'm on the 0, on the 0. Grip's good. This little guy down here, don't worry about him. He's still within the scoring zone. It was me being a goofer. So my first round was right here. With 0 support hand pressure, the dot ended up right here. Second round was right here. The dot ended up right here again, because remember I told you I was doing the exact same pressure twice in a row. Third one was right here. The dot ended up here. The fourth pressure, the dot ended up here. The fifth, the dot never moved, and then that's where I sent about 4 rounds, and as you can see, my grip pressure wasn't bad at all. It stayed where it needed to. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, I own the Ozark School of Gunfighting. I'm located here at the Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. I travel and teach though all the time. I travel across the country. One of the cool things about me is I'm not like those other big names. Once you train with me, the price you pay is not only for the knowledge you're gonna get, but it's for a lifelong mentor. I text, I message, I email, I send videos, I do virtual training with a lot of the guys that have already trained with me, and I don't even charge them for that stuff. It's because I care about you as a human and as a shooter. I'm not here to collect a paycheck, I'm here to watch you grow.